Good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. My computer's going very slow this morning. I hope it's not a problem. Let me know if everything is normal on your end there. It is like a sloth climbing uphill through molasses. I mean, it's super slow. Anita, good morning. Good to see you. Thank you for sending me that picture. I want to remind you at the beginning of the episode that on Friday night, right, so we do our coffee time Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday p.m. at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who are new and joining us, I'm so happy to have you. And I realized there was a bunch of new people who joined recently, and I realized it must be because of the Rug Cooking Magazine article, right? Duh. It takes me a while sometimes, but I think that's why. Very happy to have you. On Friday, we are running what is called a gallery night, which we've only done once so far, and I want to get in the habit of doing it once a month. On gallery nights, you hopefully send me pictures of something that you have done or something you're currently working on. It doesn't have to be finished. I feel like my picture's freezing a lot. Send those to me and we'll look at those together on Friday night. It should make for a wonderful show. I'm going to scroll down just to be sure that things are okay computer-wise. Okay, good. Looks okay. I'm going to keep going. Let me see which of the buddies are here. Great to see you all. Gayla says hello. Hello, Gayla in Missouri. It is hot here too. It is truly summer. Kaz, great to see you. I'm so happy that you're off for school and I can reach you all the time now. And my mom is logged on. You're right. It's not very humid, Mom. You're right. I can complain about anything. It is very hot, but it's fairly comfortable in Connecticut where we are. Good to see you, Mama Bear. And Linda, good to see you. Kirsten, beautiful day in Vermont as well. Crystal, are you home alone again? Have you got baby off to school today, or it is the end of school there too, isn't it? I have to say, I'll be ending the episode at about quarter of today because incredibly, despite the fact that our Board of Education calendar shows Thursday being the last day of school, Thursday is the last day of school for my daughter Jocelyn, who's at one school, but surprisingly enough, today is Teddy's last day at Bear Path, which is a different school in town because he goes to the special autism program. Wouldn't you think I would know clearly what the last day of school was? I feel awful because I didn't say to him, make sure you get your buddy's number so we can stay in touch over, he's autistic, you need to remind him of things over and over. I would have said that had I but known it was the last day, so I need to actually be to him at 1. So I'm going to end at about 45 minutes into the show today. What a busy day. April, good to see you. I'm just reading your comments and catching up a little bit, and then we're going to go shooting right into content so we don't miss any time today. I like to see you chatting with each other so I know what we're talking about here. Okay, good. It looks like it's, okay, good, looking good. Crystal clear, Crystal? Hopefully it's Crystal. Tad, good to see you in Hudson Valley. Good to see you. I need to connect with you. I still need to connect with you. I've been on a crazy hamster wheel for like a year, finally crawling off of the wheels. Cindy, good to see you. And Lynn, 106 in Tucson. That is, that's warm. That's very warm, isn't it? That's uncomfortably warm. Velma's back at school. Some free time for Mama. Heidi, good to see you. I was worried about you. I was happy to get your message. I hadn't heard from you for a while. Connie, great to see you in Newfoundland. Hello. Dave, I got your piece too for Friday night gallery night. I know you're going out to dinner, but we're going to look at that beautiful piece of yours. Dave sent a lovely piece and he said, I must be the slowest hooker in the world. And I assured him he is not. There must be someone who's moving very, very slow on projects. And it's not how quickly you get them done, is it? It's how much you're enjoying the process and how much you're loving the way it's coming out. Ida, great to see you. Hello to you. It is going to be a happy summer for the kids. I'm getting ready to start the amusement park madness soon. That's our first thought this coming weekend. Sue's hot in Kansas too. And Penny, good afternoon. Oh, you are not late. You know, you are not AWOL. It was surprising when I came back on after taking my long vacation. We do our family vacation for over 2 weeks, and I know that was a long time to be away. So you were not AWOL at all. So happy you're there. Whitney, good to see you. So yesterday Whitney wrote, and she sent a picture of these ribbons that you picked up at the dollar store, right? Beautiful. Like, they have different kinds of ribbons, not like Christmassy ribbons, but ribbons on big spools that are a bit stiff and a bit meshy, quite a bit of integrity. And Whitney's idea, she's cutting them up to use for Prati. So Whitney, let me know how it goes, because we were saying, should we cut them the long way, cut a length, or how to cut them? The answer with things like that when you're using a non-traditional material is always you have to try it. Don't cut the whole thing and just cut a small piece and just proddy it in and see how it is going through your backing. When you're doing things proddy-wise with non-traditional materials, meaning not wool or t-shirt material or one of these things you would expect to use, when you're using something different like these gorgeous, colorful, glittery ribbons, you want to make sure that they're good for the backing. And some backings are better than others because we know that monk's cloth is the tightest, 100% cotton. It's nice and tight. The ones that are a bit looser would be like linen or even burlap if it's not going down on the ground. A little bit looser, a little more give. So see how it goes and keep us updated. It's so nice, the idea of using these beautiful, and Whitney got these ribbons in like gorgeous summery colors, because sometimes I think about ribbons as being kind of a Christmassy thing, and I'm thinking evergreen and bright red, but she got like turquoise and fuchsia and yellows and oranges and really bright summer colors. So it'll be so neat to see what you do with that. That's a great idea, just to be looking for your supplies everywhere you go. It makes running errands fun, doesn't it? Because you can find supplies pretty much everywhere. We know that even in the 1960s and 70s, people were writing books and including pictures of braided, proddy, and hooked rugs that were made from cut up grocery bags. So it's, and bread bags like Wonder Bread and all of those. So wherever you go, wherever life takes you on the most mundane of errands, you can still be looking for supplies that you can use for your hooking and punching. And great to see you in New Brunswick, Canada. Great to see you. So, I realized on Monday, once I started the episode, that I didn't have my stuff with me that I wanted to show you from the long trip I was just on. We were on Cape Cod, as I think most of you know, and it is a very ripe place for picking up rugs. And it is the beginning of the season. Hey, Becky. It is the beginning of the season, so there are lots of flea markets and yard sales happening. And I don't want to go too much into this because I know many people live in parts of the country and the world where there aren't ripe for the pickings moments, and there aren't lots of places that you're tripping over rugs. But in New England, I think we are very lucky. It is like the hornet's nest and the cradle of rug hooking. So we do see a lot of rugs. So I want to show you some of the rugs that I got while I was away, not to make you jealous. We'll document these. You know that they are here. These are antique rugs. I'll put some of them up, and when I have more time, at least with a couple of these, I'll take the patterns off of them and put them up as free patterns on our Facebook group, which is Rug Cooking and Aspersan Punch Needle Club, right? So you know that these will be coming for you, and we're going to share the goodness. We're going to share the goods, the bounty. So I went to an antique center on, I think, the second day there in Sandwich on Cape Cod. It's called the Sandwich Antique Center. And they normally have super expensive rugs. They have many that are mounted that are in the high hundreds and thousands, and they are lovely and worth it. But I found two that were rolled up like garbage on the floor, and they were $150 each, but I struck a deal. Wait till you, Chrissy, great to see you. Wait till you see. These both came out of a house. I think somebody either passed away or moved in Sandwich. These were made by somebody a generation back, at least one generation back. And these are made on burlap, so I'm going to be careful. I'm going to show you close up what they look like. I'll show you the borders too, but this is the first one. You can see this is an original pattern. And help me out here. Remember, you're not going to remember, but in terms of like your trivia knowledge, your vast knowledge of literature, right? Children's literature. What did they call these little pixie characters in the 1920s, 30s? Didn't they have a very specific name? It wasn't pixies or gnomes or trolls. It was like they had a very specific name, and there was a whole bunch of books written in the 20s, 30s. They were like mischievous little imp type characters. Do you know the word that I mean? It's driving me crazy because every time I look at this rug, I think of that, and I'm trying to summon the word, and I'm just not getting there. But you can see this is a beautiful rug with a hit or miss border. I'm going to be real careful with it. I'm going to be displaying this one. And it is mostly, I don't see any wool here. It's mostly cottons. So probably in the true thrift style, it was all cut up and put together. And nope, not Sprite. We're getting there though. And then a big sort of wobbly horse on the move. It is like a starfish. It absolutely is, with a face. But yeah, no, they had a name. It was like a series of books. Brownies. right? Like they were like little imp-like, pixie-like characters, brownies. That was it. They might have actually been brown, but this one is a starfish, so it's different. And you know, they were like mythical characters. It wasn't like a racial problem. Sharon, great to see you. But I thought this was just gorgeous. I mean, how could I pass on that? Particularly when there was one sitting next to it that was done by the same person and in the same style. Let me give this a quick little roll. Let me show you some close-up materials that they were working with here. Super wide cut. This looks to me, in the true tradition of a hooked rug, the thrift tradition of a hooked rug, it looks to me like the person ripped. So just notched the fabric with the scissors or whatever and just ripped right down. They were not sitting there with a wool stripping machine cutting perfect pieces. Right? They were just ripping and going for it and hoping that the darks lasted for the dark part where they did the horse, and that the lights lasted for the part with the sheep or whatever that character is. That was the first one, and then this is the second one. I had to get this because my dad loved all kinds of ducks and geese. He just loved them. These are both very long hearthrug dimensions. Come back a little bit. Yeah. So they're much wider. It's about maybe 3 foot across and 2 foot down kind of thing. And I'll show you this one close up too. This is the one that really got me because it made me think about my dad. And we always used to go to, if you know the children's book writer Thornton Burgess, he wrote about the American Peter Rabbit, not knowing that Beatrix Potter had written a Peter Rabbit series over there. Different set of characters that were set in his hometown, which was Sandwich, where I found these rugs. And there's lots and lots of ducks and birds around the pond there, so it really made me think of those old-time days when my dad was still with us. And I love just this kind of color bush. It is the season on the Cape where the what are they called? Rosa, what is it? I'm not a gardener. Rugosa? Something like that. Rosa rugosa something. You know what I mean? The bright red bushes. It looks like it's got to be one of those. But again, instead of doing hit or miss around the border, they blocked it around the border. And you can see some of these pretty old materials. Really lovely. Let me show you the back a little bit. So for me, this is obviously the same maker. Came out of the same house, same colors, and in many cases, the same fabrics. She's even got, this might be a wool here. Right? This is kind of like a black watch kind of plaid or flannel. It doesn't actually look like wool. I think there's some rayon in here too. And of course, back in the day, people used whatever they had on hand. And you get what you get and you don't get upset, right? You have what you have and that's what you're going to work with. So I thought that was lovely. A few days later, I went to the flea market in Sandwich, which is called the Sandwich Bazaar. And that's a real hit or miss affair. But I was going around with my daughter Jocelyn, who was in search of those, you know, those little like pressed glass hats that people collected, I don't know when, maybe 30s, 40s kind of thing. Sometimes milk glass and whatever. They're like little upside down top hats. She was in search of those. That's one of her collections. And paperweights. And in searching for those, she's also looking for hooked rugs for me. And she spotted this one that I think is extraordinary and poses great kind of mystery. Cape Cod, of course, has tons of lighthouses, but it doesn't have one with this marking on it. So I did like a perfunctory kind of a search, trying to figure out if this is an actual scene and there is a lighthouse beside a church somewhere. I didn't find it, if there is one. I have not found it yet. But what I loved about this piece, and there is some loss, and you can see there is going to be a repair done at some point. I love the windows, the stained glass windows on the church. They obviously used the most colorful kind of material that they had. Beautiful front door. And I see that question. I'm going to answer that. It's got a lot of integrity problems, but it's going to be okay to kind of shore up and stabilize. You can see on the back, and be real careful with this one, the edges are a bit of a worry because you can see they're coming apart a little bit in some places. But you can see where there's some loss. This is pretty okay, but there's some loss here. Those are the kinds of things I'm going to be looking at when I'm looking to repair it. And I'll probably do that on camera so we can do that together and see how it goes. This is a repair that I can handle. My really big repairs, I'm going to have to travel to Judy Taylor, my buddy out west, and do, but I'm going to try to do the simple ones first. You know, it's a pretty darn good rug for its age. Kirsten said, when do I think the first two were made, the two colorful ones from Sandwich? I think those first two were made, I would say 1930. I would say 1930 to 1940. And the reason I'm going to say that is because when I look at these materials, I think I'm seeing some feed sack materials that would have come out in the late 1920s. It could go into the 40s because I'm seeing so much rayon, and rayon was a really popular fashion fabric in the 40s. So it could be as late as the 40s. These seem to me to be rugs that were used on the ground. They're in remarkably good condition because I think the strips are so wide, right? They're very durable rugs, and they had a very high pile to start with. But the variety of materials that I'm seeing here, although rayon does come in earlier, it was very popular around that time for clothing. So it makes sense to me color-wise, the patterns that I'm seeing. You know, I'm not seeing patterns at all that are like 1960s, right? Because confusion comes in the 1960s when we start seeing reprints of Civil War fabrics and reprints of Depression-era fabrics from the 60s to the 80s. Then we get some real confusion. But I'm not seeing any of those patterns. I'm seeing actual feed sack patterns, and I'm seeing what looks like a silk tie. This is different than that flannel we looked at, this one here. It looks like either a silk tie or it's a quantity that looks like more than a tie. Unless it was a cravat, then it might have come off of a robe, and I don't think it's silk, I think it's rayon. It's hard to tell, you know, and I don't have my best glasses on right now, but you probably know I did my undergrad degree in costume construction, and we talked constantly, endlessly about textiles and dating them and ages and things like that. So I can only make logical kinds of guesses about, well, if there's this much of this in it, and this was a very popular material at this time, particularly in prints and colors like that, it would make sense that that would fall into the timeline. I don't think it's a 19th century rug. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's like an early, mid 20th century. I'd love to know more, and I tried to chase a bit more, and I actually had the store call the person who it came from, and they said that they had gotten the rugs, it was like a dealer in between, had gotten the rugs from the house, but the lady was no longer at the house. It sounded like she was still alive, but not at the house. And it sounded like she wouldn't be able to answer many questions about it. So it could have been that these were rugs in her family. And I thought, I'll just leave it at that for now. But I did look on eBay, and I did find another rug, and you would find it too if you looked on, it's a rug, it's currently on eBay. It's a rug in those kinds of really bright colors, right? Forced cheerfulness after the Depression colors. And it's a horse that's running, and he's like filled with like electric bolts of color, hit or miss, crazy, right across it. It's been on eBay for a while. I think it's like $325, $350. I think that's the right price for it. It's a good rug. And I thought for a minute that it could be the same maker. But, and I wrote to the seller and I said, listen, because she's from Cape Cod too, I said, are you from Sandwich, and is it possible that you got this rug from the house? And I sent her the picture of these. And she didn't seem to think so. And the more I thought about it, and the more I compared the ducks, the brownie rug, and then this one of the electric horse, I thought this is very different because the maker with the electric horse, it's not a heart size rug, which doesn't mean it's not made by the same person. But the one with horse, the way that they handled the body is being hit or miss. Whereas with these rugs, the maker really tried to handle the bodies in a very literal and traditional way with both the duck and the two farm animals in this rug. And it's not saying that a person can't make a complete departure, right? They're trying to be quite literal about a black horse and a white sheep. And it made me think it's probably not the same person who made a rug with a horse with 100 different colors in the horse. And it's not, again, impossible that somebody would change gears and take up a different style. But the person who made these rugs, I'm no Sherlock Holmes, unfortunately, but it seems to me that this person was trying to create rugs that were as true to form as possible, as true to life as possible. And I don't know that that same person, who obviously fancies himself as more of a craftsperson than an artiste, right? Very folky style. I don't know that that same person would be a person who would suddenly say, why don't I mix it up and go avant-garde today? Why don't I do a Fauvist horse, right, instead of the way that I've been working? It seems unlikely. And I got excited just because they were both on Cape Cod, and I thought it's bright colors, it's possible. But when I realized bright colors was the only thing that these rugs had in common. I thought, probably not. So I held my fire and I stuck with these two, which I love very much. And then I went to that sandwich bazaar and I got the one with the church and the lighthouse beside it. So if you, in whatever area you're in, know of a place in real life, not in dreams, that has a beautiful church with stained glass windows and right beside it, a lighthouse that's white and red with a cross on it. That would be interesting, right? That would be great to find out. I found one result on Google, but it wasn't either of those buildings. So I thought maybe they did like a hybrid, and that's the church from the village, and that's the lighthouse from the town, and they just put them side by side, and it makes a beautiful composition. These are older rugs, and these are not commercial patterns. So these are rugs that when you find them, you can make them again, right? You can make a copy of that exact rug because these are not commercial patterns. There's no question about that. That's one of the joys of finding diamonds in the rough like this. That same day, I found a braided rug. And I don't usually go for braided rugs, but it was cheap and it was beautiful. And you know, I have a big studio space here. I have a lot of braided rugs down, and most of my braided rugs include brown, and that's just how it happened. And I thought this one's got some brown, but it's also got little peaks of mustardy gold, antique yellow, a little bit of the sort of fuchsia orange, some nice kind of piney green. I just thought the overall design of it was really pretty. Anything that's brown strikes me as possibly 60s, 70s, but I think this one's a little bit earlier. This is a heavy all wool rug. And the history of rug braiding on the Cape is even better shaped, known, articulated than the history of hooking. So this is probably more likely that I could follow this one up, but I'm very content just having it and chasing after the hooked rugs. A few days later, but wait, there's more. I hope I get to our other content today. We went to the flea market at Wellfleet, which is my favorite town on the Cape, the big drive-in flea market. And sure enough, Jocelyn was off and running, my daughter, and she got a few stalls ahead of me, and she found a lot of stuff, but she found some rugs, and she went crazy when she found them. She found these 3 rugs that were marked $20 each. I'm ashamed to say I did a deal and did 3 for $50, because I mean these are worth so much more than that. Wait till you see. It's probably a commercial pattern. I have not had time to look through my pattern books and see if I can identify it. Maybe you can. But it's the same pattern 3 times over. So maybe it isn't a commercial pattern. Maybe somebody just drew it and said, look at me go. This is good, huh? 3 times over, but different colors each time. So I'm going to be displaying these together once I shape up the studio a bit. They are just beautiful. They are done in a very fine, I'm going to say that's a 4. I'm going to say that's a 4. I feel pretty confident it's not a 3 or a 5. So these look like this. And unless the person bought the pattern 3 times, which is not impossible, if you've seen this, let me know. I just think this is a gorgeous, gorgeous rug. And can you see it's got a little bit of green? Maybe it's easier to see. A little bit of green inside these little white shoots, the little white berries. So this is the first one. Lock it in with your eyes. That's the color combo. They're very similar. They have almost the same colors in each, but like for example, this one is much darker. A little bit of straw from the Cape. Picked it up somewhere, a little seagrassy thing. Very, very similar, but much darker. And then look on the back, and instead of white berries, we've got maroon berries, but with those little sort of minty green pimento colors in the center. And then look at the way that they've done the veining in the scroll. It's like a red plaid, isn't it? Isn't that lovely? And the outlining is a red plaid. They did that with the first one too, except it was solid red on the first one, not plaid. And with this one, this is the lightest of the 3. They're back to the white berries. Oh, let me get the price tag off. You know, I'm going to take that price tag off later because, no, I'm doing it now. Makes me so nervous when people put tapes on rug like this, you know, like a sticker. I was really careful pulling it off because you don't want to pull the loops out, do you? This is the lightest and the 3rd in the set. Really lovely. And with this one, they have done, this is a smaller cut. Oh, this is definitely a smaller cut. This is a 3, and the other 2, I'm sure, are 4s. This one is a hair smaller. It looks like this one was cut with a cutting machine, right? So this is probably, I would say, maybe 1950s kind of thing. But you can see the coloring on the back. Again, it's a patterned color in the scroll in the center. And they, instead of using for the veining the red plaid or the solid red, they have used solid maroon. So different color scheme again. I'll flash them one more time. This is the lightest one. This is the darkest one. It's like the three bears here. And I know it's clipped. So I will take photos of these and put them in our Facebook group. I'll try to make another blog so people who are not on Facebook don't miss looking at them close up. I'll do some close ups because they are, you know, I just love the idea. They're so similar, but they're not the same. There's not even the attempt to make them the same. I just thought, what a neat thing. I will display them together like a triptych. It'll be a beautiful thing to have. My mom says, I see one Red Cross Lighthouse in Head Harbor, New Brunswick, and another called Gulf of Maine Lighthouse. Interesting. Mark those pages, Mom, if you can. Send me them as a link so I can check that out. I'm going to show you the last, heading off the Cape. Now, I saw a lot more rugs. There's a lot more rugs out there in all those antique stores. They are beautiful, right, Penny? But leaving the Cape, I had to further torture the kids who were in the back seat, Tetrised in by junk that we'd bought in pool toys and the recently deflated big donut raft, and it was crazy. It was crazy in the back seat. It was like a Norman Rockwell picture. But I still had to torture the kids by going down 6A, which is the Old Kings Highway, on the way home, rather than the highway route, right? That's much faster, because I knew there would be 100 yard sales, and we saw 100 yard sales, and they found some games and some things they liked, and I found 2 rugs sitting out. Well, one of them was up on an old quilt rack outside a barn. It was ancient. It was probably condemned, but they were allowing people to go inside and see what they had. And I saw these rugs outside, and they are not good. They are old. I believe these to be 19th century rugs. And the girl said, she wasn't a girl, she was older. She said her mom didn't make these rugs, but she treasured these rugs. And I thought at first, no, thank you. I have enough problems already. But then I thought, what kind of a rug hooker would I be? I'm being very careful right here. If I did not pick these up for $10, right? So I'm going to be very careful. This is on burlap, lots of damage. But somebody a long time ago made this little beauty, and it really is. They came up with an idea. They did not have a lot of extra material. They came up with the idea of doing circles and then blocking out lines in between to create an all-over pattern. It's very much a hit or miss. Let me see if I can bring you, I have 2 of them. It's a matching pair. One is bigger than the other. There's some patterned wool in here. For example, that green is a patterned one. They're super, super dirty. There. And they're super old. I'll show you the back too. But you know, I just couldn't leave them. I will figure out a way to display these, even if it's just displaying part of them, because this is our history right here in my hand. This is our story that we share as hookers, right? This is definitely the story of somebody put that tape on the back, probably for a non-skid situation. The story of somebody who had scraps and wanted something pretty and drew some circles or traced some circles from a cup or a saucer or something like that, and just drew straight lines in between and made something beautiful that lasted 4 generations. And the woman who ended up owning them, okay, that's probably something gross that I'm touching. Yeah, that certainly is something gross that I'm touching. I will figure that out. It's not moth stuff. It's gross spider puke. So I think this is the bigger one. Be real careful. But again, just sitting out there outside this ancient barn that is probably going to be gone next time I drive up that road. And I'll take pictures of these for you so you can see them closer up. But there are some mixed sort of marble cake going on there, but some colorful patterns. And it does look like a pig's breakfast close up. I mean, it looks dirty close up, but from far away, right, this is a lot of work. Somebody did a lot of work. Let me show you the back. And can you imagine how proud and pleased this maker was when she got all these colors in, and it was brand new and colorful sitting down on the floor. She must have been, and having 2 that she made, she must have liked the pattern, because I have 2 of them. Who knows how many she made with this little kind of bow tie pattern. Super, super cute. I was very happy to find those. A shame that I almost walked away from them, but when I see things in distress at this point, I just think I got enough of that. Um, but in the end, I took them, and now I am properly filthy. So let's go for a little while longer. I want to remind you, I'm going to start looking at Rug Cooking Magazine, and that will be a to be continued. And Atha Magazine, right? They both came in the last couple of weeks while I was away. Um, let's see. Just reading your notes. Ragosa, thank you, Mom. Yeah, so pretty, that bright fuchsia flower. Um, I just want to remind you, I hope you're signed up for, it runs tonight and it runs on Sunday. It's either or, whichever one works for you. Designing like Chagall, right? The class is coming up. I'm going to run over for sure, I have to say, because it is so much content. It's such a story. It's like, it is a beautiful, crazy story of an artist, Chagall, who we all know, who suffered both world wars and was displaced so many times, but managed to do some of the most beautiful, iconic, symbolic, joyful work in the history of art. So we are covering Chagall tonight and Saturday, one or the other. They're independent classes. It is a recorded class if you're not able to make it, but it is not too late to sign up. I got the heebie-jeebies now. And you will get the file with stuff to print out if you have times. We do a series of games. We look at his main symbols, his main tricks, so that if you want to create a composition that you would then hook or punch or whatever, in the style of Chagall, you know what all of these symbols mean and what his go-to tricks were so that you can copy those tricks, because he is not in the public domain. He died in the 1980s. So you can design like him, but you can't really outright copy him because it is not, public property at this point. It is not copyright free. So I started mine and I haven't gotten back to it yet, my Chagall. And for those of you who take the class, I will be sending you this pattern too that you can do if you want to, with a character in the middle who, if you can see her, instead of laying on, and I haven't finished it yet, so it's going to be hard, there's a blue sheep that she's laying on. I haven't hooked the face yet, but it's a character kind of in Tudor clothing. And I think that's because when I was working on the sketch for this, my sister, who works for Yale, was over at Catherine Parr's castle, Henry VIII's last wife, the one that he actually loved and didn't kill, going through their stuff for the Yale collection. But I broke up like a cubist kind of a sky, and I did some of his tricks with the little village underneath. So this is my design like Chagall, which I will continue to work on. And all of this is the kind of, and I am doing, did you notice, because I did a video on this recently, I cut up my challis scarf, right? It's 100% wool, or maybe it's even part acrylic, but I'm treating it like paisley, a lot less expensive than paisley, but all of this business here, all of the red that you see, that's the challis scarf, right? It hooks just like paisley, and I'm really enjoying hooking with it. I cut it with my scissors, and I'm reversed here. That's why I'm struggling. And I work as I go, and it comes out, as you can see, like a dream, like an absolute dream. So it's a lot of fun to make. It's a lot of fun to do, and all of this is a precursor to the book that I just signed a contract for with Rug Cooking Magazine. The other book is, of course, coming out later this year, the Rag Rug book. But this book is going to be designing like, and I'm choosing a series of artists like Chagall, like Maud Lewis, like Van Gogh, like many of the classes I've done so far, where we talk about what their tricks are, and then there is a pattern that you can hook or walks you through designing in the style of for rug hooking. So as we go, as I put this book together over the course of the next year for Rug Cooking Magazine, it'll be done by spring, it'll be out next fall. I want to be sure that you know that I want your examples, your products of these classes that we do together, your Chagalls, your Van Goghs, all of the stuff that you do. If you've taken these classes with me and you've come up with patterns, compositions that you've done, that you're working on, that you're happy with and proud of, I want those for the book, right? I want those for the book. So keep that in mind. It's a good time to jump on the bandwagon with these design-like classes because I really want your work included in the book, not just me. It's not just the me show. So having said that, I'm going to have to break in 10 minutes, but let's start taking a look at this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine, which was one of my favorite issues in a long time. And it's not just because I have an article in it. It's just a lovely issue. And I have a slideshow ready for us that we can start. This is for those of you who don't subscribe to Rug Cooking Magazine. This is the June, July, August, right? Because this is the time of the year that there's 3 months together. they're grouped because it's quieter in the summer for a lot of hookers, people being busy with stuff. June, July, August 2022. And the cover looks like this. On the cover, they are advertising one of their continued features from past issues that talks about hooking a background. So let's look at, I'm not going to look at all of the features in this, of course, and I'm careful about what I look at because somebody blasted me last time after I talked so nicely about an article that they had done. I shouldn't even be saying this. Blasted me with, I'm going to tell everybody that you're stealing our images. They thought I was making patterns out of the pictures in the catalog. Well, I was actually covering the magazine because I'm a partner of Rug Hooking Magazine, and that's what I have agreed to do. So very, very aggravating and lots of lack of sleep nights because of that. So I'm very careful about what I'm covering in this magazine. Please know that I'm covering the articles of people I know and I feel good about covering on this show because I cannot risk having another nutty situation like happened last time. It's a shame that these things have to happen, but people can be gems. So let's see what we got going here. I started out with the cover of the magazine. You know that this is the June, July, August issue for 2022. And when you open it up, one of the first articles that we're seeing is the one I just mentioned called, this is part 3 of a series by Susan Grant called Beautiful Backgrounds. And Susan shows us the work of many different people who are doing gorgeous rug hooking, doing little tricks in the background that you might be interested in, we all might be interested in, incorporating into our future work. So for example, this is a piece that's called On Alert Horse. It's an 8-inch square, and it is hand-cut wool strips, bias, shirred, coiled, and standing wool. Standing wool is also called quilly, right? I'll come back to that in a second. It's on, in shoe button, I guess that's the I, on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Tracy Jamar. We've covered Tracy many times on our British Rag Rug series, right? She is fantastic. New York, New York, 2015. So let's look at this close up because there is some gorgeousness going on. We do have the kind of shirred or standing part in the horse mane, right? But in the background, oh, any chance of making a kit of that? Oh, Suze, do you mean of the Chagall? I could make a kit of the Chagall, if that's the one you mean. If not, let me know. The quilly is in the background here. Quilly is what's sometimes called a standing rug. And quilly is what happens when if you don't know quilly yet, it's one of the chapters of the book I have coming out this year. You take either your wool strips, or for example, you cut some strips off a sweater, any part of it, you coil them up like a little Cinnabon, right? You put like a little pin or a needle in there just to coil it real tight so you get a little cross section like a little Cinnabon, and then you can always trim it and clip it and make it neat later. And then you set those as little rounds, as little coils onto the surface of the project. And that's what's happening here in the background. Those are all quilly rounds. And you see the one on the top left is a shaperoonie, right? It's a quilly, but then they've done like a little bit of added ribbon candy, right? Ziggity zaggity around the edge. There's all kinds of things you can do with quilly. They don't have to be rounds. Look at some of these. Some of these are like irregular. Some of them are smushed and schlumped in between the others. And it looks great when they're irregular. In this color scheme, it looks a bit like a starry night, doesn't it? I mean, it's just delicious looking at all that wool. So you've got the regular sort of hooked body, neck of the horse and the head of the horse. Around it, there's a divide. There's a white border that's probably standing. That's a divide that makes it look outlined. And the background is filled in by sewing these individual quilly units onto the monk's cloth. It's a beautiful idea for a background. That is beautiful. Well, Tracy Jamar is like one of the great masters of all time, right? Yes, Suze, I'll figure out how to get that one up and out as a kit. I can do that. I have all of those colors still, so I'll work on that. Now, this is another beauty. This is called Big, what's this called? Big Boucheroit. Big Boucheroit. Boucheroit. Okay, so French speakers help me. I think Boucheroit, oh, you can see it right there in the picture. Isn't that like, I want to say like an Algerian, Moroccan term for French, but isn't it a term for like scraps, like scrap material? I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm not big sure, but this is Big Boucheroit. That's a tough word. It's not an everyday French word, but I think it's a reference to scrappies. It's a beautiful scrap piece, hand cut bed sheets and T-shirts on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Laura Salamy, Salamy, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 2019. What I love about this background that Laura's showing us is I love the camouflage quality of it. I mean, it's not the camouflage colors, right? It's not traditional camo, but it is such a lovely blend of salmon, rust, raspberry, dusty rose, right? Some desert colors, some very warm colors. So beautiful in contrast to very geometric center. Looks sort of like quilt inspired, possibly Navajo inspired. There's lots of little symbols dropped into the body of this rug. The arrow design looks like it's taken from Native American lore and design, but it could be a real mashup. It could be all quilt driven. And the beautiful, subtle border around the edge, I just love this color combination. Beautiful irregular border, almost like somebody was drawing chalks on the pavement or sketches, with a pencil in a sketchbook. Very faint colors, very irregular look. Top and bottom are the same, side to side it's the same. It's a beautiful piece. It really is, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary piece. I'm going to try to get through just this segment, and then I've got to shoot out to pick up Teddy for his last day. This is a variation on what I would call a confetti background. This piece is called Tiger Lily Trivet, 10-inch square, number 3 to number 6 cut, wool, yarn, and linen, designed and hooked by Susan Grant, Acton, Ontario, 2021. So what a beautiful sort of drooping tiger lily. That's one of my favorite flowers. Talk about summertime. And in the background, instead of doing the confetti, which is like, looks like ticker tape falling down on Charles Lindbergh, they have done Susan has done very regular polka dots, different colors, one little loop here and there, really lovely. It creates a very subtle pattern in the background. It is super effective. It gives us a feeling of the background having some busyness, but the focus is still 100% on that beautiful tiger lily. Another gorgeous piece. These are all from that beautiful background series, part 3. This is the cover shot. This is called Cherry Blossoms, 55 inches by 35, number 5, number 6, and number 8 cut. Wool and banana silk yarn on linen. I don't know what banana silk yarn is, but I'm going to Google it later. Designed and hooked also by Susan Grant. Now, Susan Grant is the author of this series of articles, so not surprising that she has some beautiful background examples in this article. Acton, Ontario, again, 2021. Beautiful, sort of, it evokes a Greek key design, but it has that kind of Eastern flavor. Although it's done, it looks almost like Oriental poppies to me, the Pearl McGowan design. It has this beautiful light 1930s palette, doesn't it? The not quite pastels. If you think about the old Vogue covers from the 20s and 30s, that sort of medium pinks, salmons, lilacs, but using a lot of white and dove gray. It is a moment in time. It is so charming, right? It is overflowing with charm. Another beautiful piece. Let me see if there's one more from this. Nope. So I'm going to stop there. We'll talk about that next week when we pick up again, because we know that Friday night is reserved for us to have our gallery night, looking at each other's work. I'm going to be pulling pieces. It does look like an Oriental vase pattern. It absolutely does, Kaz. I'm going to be pulling pieces of the things that you've sent me. I'm using all of them, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to be pulling pieces off of our Facebook group, which again is Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club, and seeing what people have been working on over the past weeks that I was away. I'm back now, but I missed a lot. I want to catch up together on Friday night for our monthly gallery night, and probably the week after we will do our bingo night. We've got a lot to catch up on now. So remember, the beginner class, 1985 Cat, I don't even know where I put him, is up there. That starts a week from this weekend, right? Not this coming weekend, but the following. For beginners or people who are interested in learning to do more with directional hooking, that is a Zoom class that's available online. It's on Ribbon Candy Hooking. But tonight is Designing Like Chagall, and I'm really looking forward to a very inspirational night together with brainstorming, drawing, playing our games, getting some composition designs down in the style of Chagall that you will definitely be able to use, as I have done with my Chagall, to hook. What could hook more beautifully than a Chagall, right? That is tonight, and that will repeat live on Saturday, not Sunday, because Sunday's Father's Day in the U.S. So that is it for this episode. Say a little prayer for Teddy that he has a happy summer. I'm picking his little butt up now, and he's going to be so, I might even put the sprinkler on in the backyard. He's going to be so happy to realize it's his last day, because when I dropped him off at school, we didn't even know that. I feel like I've robbed him of a day, you know. So I'm going to go do that now, but I will be back with you on Friday. And please do send me anything that I can show. It doesn't have to be recent, and it doesn't have to be finished. Send me anything that I can show that is yours for gallery night, so that we can all look and compliment. It is not a critique. It is for fun. It is to pull the best things out of your pieces that we can talk about and share and inspire each other with. Techniques, ideas, designs, original designs, commercial designs. It doesn't make any difference. We will love them all so much, right? So I will, hi Cats Gallery. I will see you on Friday. Have a great day tomorrow. And you can write to me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I will see you for the Friday night show. Take care.